Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Taylor Talks Trades. Something a wee bit different for you this week. This guy isn't actually in the trades, and normally what happens if I'm coming away for the trades, it's somebody who's inspired me quite a bit. So this guy here is a award-winning company, local company in West Lothian. It's Jonathan Ward, Managing Director of Spring Solutions. He's done some great things, as I said, won multiple awards, doing a great job in the industry. And one of the big points I want to cover today with him is the work-life balance that he's managed to achieve and still trying to go after, and also how he brought that into his team as well, and what the big importance of the mental well-being that he's putting onto his staff and the results that that's bringing. So welcome on, Johnny.
Thanks very much, man. It's great to be here.
I'm not going to ask you how you got into the trades because you're no trades, but where did it all start for you?
I guess the short version, and I don't know if you come on podcast to do a short version, but as my dad had a really similar business to what I now have. The sort of slightly longer version would be, I don't feel like that was always my goal or what I was destined to do. Like back at school, you know what West Lothian schools are like. You get like the really smart people, the people that could do something in sports, the absolute nutters, and then the kind of in between us. And I don't think that I set up based in any one of those camps. I think I just kind of had a foot in a few. You know, I was quite smart when I wanted to be, tried at football, and probably got in my fair share of trouble as well. So I didn't really ever have this vision of what I wanted to be, or I think my dad was probably my hero, as he is for most young people. Well, not my dad, but as people's dads are for most people. But I didn't really have this vision, so that kind of led to me coming to the end of sort of 5th year at school. I left by like mutual agreement, to steal a football term. Like I basically got sacked for school. I think they wanted more than I was able to sort of put in. You know, they thought I could have pushed myself, and I was never really going to be the guy that went out and got 5 A's. I liked messing about and having a laugh a wee bit too much. So I left school, went to work in a bank at the time, Merrill Lynch, just before the financial crash actually. I don't think me working there had anything to do with it, but you never know. But just before the financial crash, and I thought I kind of smashed it at that job, but I didn't overly enjoy it. So I thought I want to go further up the ladder here. So my kind of way to do that was I thought, right, I'll pull out of work just now, I'll go and study, and then I'll hopefully come back at a sort of higher level than what I'm at the moment. And I would say the wheels fell off to a wee bit in extent there. Like college.
Was this like a gap year type thing, or like?
It was actually studying.
Right, okay.
So I went back to college. I says, right, I'll go and do business management. I was going to do a year at college, and I was going to go get a degree. And on the first day at college, I remember the lecturer said, like, I was 16 and a half at this point. I was quite emotionally immature, but the lecturer said, this isn't the school. I'm not going to force you to be here. And she may as well have just stopped speaking then for me. Like, I just thought, brilliant. This is an opportunity for me to, you know, have a bit of a laugh and take the mic away. And 16 and a half as well, you're, you know, finding drinking, and you're just sort of experimenting with going out. And so college didn't really work for me. I didn't really have the discipline and emotional maturity. And to be honest, that probably bled over a wee bit. So I done my year at college, just scraped through, to be honest. Then they set the world on fire at all there. And after a year at college, I kind of thought, this is just getting in the way of me having a good time here. So I just decided, right, I'm going to go back and work. And I was all focused on the social and the life and the whatever else. And I decided I'd go back and work. I would leave college, I'd get some money, and then I would just have my fun for a wee while, which probably not a bad idea at that age. But to be honest, it didn't really work like that. I left college, didn't really apply myself in trying to find a job. And as I look back now, I'd probably say like my mental health was quite poor at the time. Obviously I didn't know that at the time. I was just a wee guy doing wee guy things, just going out and drinking a lot, and I was never in trouble or violent or anything like that, but probably just having too much of a good time, and it was leading to a wee bit of a bad time. But anyway, it led to like maybe 3 or 4 months after college, still living with my dad and his wife, and I hadn't really applied for jobs. I was kind of, I think I was pretending I was going to interviews to my dad, if I'm honest. But then he says, listen, if you don't get a job in the next month, you're coming to work for me at this company that's similar to mine. And he says, and I'm working you for 20 quid a week. And I was like, wow. So I thought, there's no way he's going to do that. Like, called his bluff, you know, didn't get a job. And sure enough, after 4 weeks, he's like, right, you're coming to work for us. So I went in there, and the first couple of weeks, it's funny because there's a few people that worked for Fastech at the time. Fastech was my dad's business, that now work with Spring. And they just can't believe that I'm the same person as what I was that wee 16, 17-year-old there. Like, I was just a complete nuisance, sleeping up the racks, and like, just, I had loads of wee games I played to annoy everybody, and that. It was completely immature. But anyway, I thought that, I was getting one over my dad if I was there being a wido, but it turns out I was just being a wido. But anyway, maybe 3 or 4 weeks passed, and I started getting my discipline back, that 9 to 5 routine.
Yep.
And I started thinking, well, if I'm here, I may as well put a wee bit of effort in.
Yep.
Or I may as well look for something else, because I'm getting up 9 to 5, I'm here, I'm working, and whatever else. So I found another job, went into a sales job at the time, loved the sales.
Yeah.
Didn't really love the short-term element of the sales, like the kind of pushy sales tactics almost, but I love building relationships, love speaking to people, love finding out why they were interested in buying products. So I kind of found that other job, left my dad's place, thankfully. I started earning more than 20 quid a week. And then I went into this other job, and I was doing all right. And I can't really remember what the next step was, but I was in between jobs for about a month. I was in this sales job, and I was looking for this next thing.
Yep.
And my old man said to me, I don't know why you done this, because obviously I'd been a complete wido the last time I was in.
Yeah.
But he says, we've got a project that needs done. They had just had an audit. We've got a project that needs done. Do you want to come in and do it while you're in between jobs, and we'll give you money and it'll keep you ticking over? And I thought, brilliant.
40 quid a week this time.
40 quid a week, mate. But it probably was, by the way, knowing him. But so I went in, and after like 3 or 4 days, everyone's going, wow, what a difference. And I didn't really feel it. I just switched that discipline again.
Just matured in there somewhere that...
I think so, man. I was less
focused
focusing on the partying side of things, or maybe I was just doing that 2 days a week as opposed to 6. But I had found that discipline again, and I went and worked in a job. Like, my dad's company was a great place to work, and I went and worked in a job where it wasn't really a great place to work. Right. So I went back there, and you had the sort of flexibility, the family feel, and I really enjoyed it. And they were saying, right, you've got your finger out, and maybe after 2 or 3 weeks, I think my dad's business partner had said to him, listen, we should get Johnny in working full time. Yeah. So they made an offer. I was supposed to go to this other job, like I say, and I was delighted to stay there. Yeah. So I took that job, and again ended up in quite a customer-facing role, and just loved it. That was the environment for me. It was a small business, family business. Now I say family business. When you say family business, you imagine brothers and sisters and grannies working there and all that kind of stuff. I mean family business more as in the
culture.
And it felt like a family. So obviously me and my dad were family, and like his business partner's son worked there as well eventually, but and his wife as well, sorry. But it wasn't that family that I'm referring to. It was like a family feel.
No, that makes sense. I get that.
So I went in that, and I just loved it. And so that was almost how I ended up into this industry. Yeah,
that's very interesting. And then what was the sort of next steps after that then? So how do you go from being there to what Spring Solutions is now? Like, where does the dots join there? Because like I'm picking, like, it's fascinating to listen to it all, but like you can see the wee turning points where you've just matured and you went, I've got to take it serious now. And it sounds as though even like from at school that you had that, like if you did apply yourself, you just would have done so much.
Definitely. Mate.
I'm not saying better, but like you probably never fulfilled your potential because you went, I want the half and half. Like I'm gonna enjoy myself, but I'm gonna apply myself just enough. And it seems to be, as soon as you change that to apply yourself more, you kind of got more, and then you got the respect of the people that was around you, which then landed that job, which is testament. And then who's sat here today now is a much more mature and well-rounded individual all around in that. So, do you know, it's what continued that phase then? Or?
Thanks, mate. I appreciate that. I think I definitely had that discipline, and like you say, and I was enjoying that. And people started to say that, oh, you'll be running this place soon. And it was, that seemed natural because it was my dad's company and whatever else. But I didn't really believe it at the time, but they kept saying it, and I suppose you hear something enough that you start to believe it. And then I just continued to sort of grow in that role, went away, travelled for a wee while. I went over to Australia actually, and when I came back, the company had been sold. Obviously it wasn't a massive surprise, it was my dad's company, but they had sold on. So what had happened was the company had grown as far as they felt they could take it, and they were getting opportunities worldwide. So they kind of sought a bit of investment, and through one deal or another, they ended up selling on to another company in the industry. So I came back and worked there for a wee while. And it was pretty good, like really good freedom. It still allowed us to be ourselves, to be creative, really big focus on customer service. There was a lot of synergies between the two businesses. And then the company that had taken over Fastech then got taken over again. And I'm starting to think, subconsciously, but I was going to be running this place one day, and now there's never really a chance of that. And I wouldn't say it was my biggest driver in ever going away and starting up, but you definitely, like I say, you get told something enough times, you start to believe it.
Hi guys, sorry to interrupt the episode, but I just wanted to say a massive thank you to Scope Branding for being our new podcast sponsor. As you're aware, if you've been listening and following the podcast, I'm really big on my branding and having branded workwear. We've teamed up with these guys. They've done all our work at Taylor Roofs, Taylor Solar, and now the Taylor Talks brand here that you can see. They're good quality, good prices, and really good service. Go and connect with Scope Branding on their social media channels, check out their website, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the episode.
But this other company took them over. They took them over because of what they were, not because of what Fast Tech were.
Right.
So they kind of inherited Fast Tech, didn't understand what we done, what made us good. We were a different business from the two of these.
Yeah.
And they just started stripping it off and no selling it for parts, but getting rid of it, you know.
Wanted to change it to suit their model, just the bits they needed and dump the rest on.
Absolutely, man. And I don't think they needed any part of Fast Tech.
Yeah.
Like they didn't understand our business at all.
Yeah.
But so they just started stripping wee bits away. And what I loved about my job was the family feel, the customer focused element. I loved problem solving for customers. You know, they come on in the morning and go, we've got a job stop, it's costing us hundreds of thousands of pounds, and we've not got an idea what we're looking for. And then you kind of sit down, you solve that problem for them, you get them out of it, you get the praise, you get the reward, you move on to the next. And that all kind of left. You know, you got siloed, you got put into one function. They put us onto a system that didn't work for us. We started losing, you know, they're centralising functions. And I just thought, well, we've lost what made us great. So I says to my old man at the time who had left, he had kind of went through the acquisition and the merger. He left and was working somewhere else in the industry. And there was a few others at the time, like his old business partner, Mike Conley, and his wife Rona. I sought a wee bit of advice from them, and I just thought, no, I'm not doing this. Like, I don't enjoy coming to my work. It's too stressful. I'm never going to climb the ladder here. And we've lost the customer service element as well. You know, customers were phoning and going, can you not do this? And I'm like, for silly things like their account was a penny over its credit limit, and we're holding up like, you know, production stops and job stops, and I just thought, this is pointless. So I decided, I spoke to them, put a business plan together, and decided I was going to go away and start again. And almost those things that I thought, right, well, what's going to make our business special? And I thought, well, what did I love about the last place? What did I love about Fast Tech? And it was the family feel, the creativity, the environment we were allowed to thrive, helping customers, solving problems for customers. And I thought, wow, we can do this on an even bigger level. You know, I've seen what one of the biggest companies in the industry took us over, and I've seen, I mean, not to shoot them down, but they what they do works for big companies, but it doesn't work for the smaller ones.
They were getting that so wrong.
Aye, but I can see what not to do. Aye, and I thought,
God, this could be our niche if we can go in there and add the customer feel and get
exactly, man,
get that family feel back in the culture. And that makes a lot of sense.
Exactly.
Makes a lot of sense.
So that was 7 years ago this month.
We
decided to go away and start again, and I did, and it was. Aye.
Did you feel that was always important to you then? Like, you sort of needed to be like the top man sort of thing, like you wanted to run it? Like, was that
I don't know. You talk about this a lot on LinkedIn and stuff, where you talk about the ego and I don't know that was ever my driver. It will be somewhere. And there's definitely a part of me wants that image, but it doesn't feel like the reason I get out of my bed in the morning. I would genuinely say my biggest thing was, they took a company that was a great place to work and a great environment, and it made people happy, and it made a difference in lives. And I thought, and they took that away, and I thought, maybe it's not my responsibility, but I've got an opportunity to try and recreate that.
It's maybe just being like, you could be then in control of how this place is going to run.
Exactly.
Like, I can say we're going to do it my way.
Exactly.
And this is, and you knew what worked for you, and you could see that it actually worked for others as well.
Aye,
and they were happy at their work, and there was that family feel, and the customers on the other end of the phone were happy as well. So you wanted to bring that back.
Definitely. And it's, I mean, it's not to say it sounds completely selfless here. To be honest, it's probably more selfish than that in the first instance, where I just went, I can't work here, I need my own happiness back. But then
that's where it comes from. Like, it comes from frustration. Like, even like if I take myself as an example, when I started up in roofing for myself, it was like the pain at the end, they almost like turning up to customers' homes and them saying, oh, I never knew you were coming. Like, that really pained me. I was like, why? We've got an office there, but like, why would they even no phone and say you're coming? And as time went by, do you know, I thought, I could just be so much better than this. Like, I would just phone them and let them know I'm coming. And like, all them wee small things.
It's no rocket science, is it?
No, it's no. And it's certainly, when you dive into the world of kind of self-employment or having your own business, it's not as easy as you probably would think when you look at other businesses and go, oh, they didn't know what they're doing. But that is a lot of the time where this comes from. It comes from I could do that better. And then you just believe in yourself and go, I'm just going to go and try and apply it. No, it's amazing. It's quite an interesting journey so far. So 7 years ago, you get Spring off the ground. You're doing all them great things and taking that back in. What sort of, where does it go for there? What happened? What's kind of been the next steps? I know you've won awards. What is it? So from what I'm taking it as, Spring solves problems for customers. That's like they've basically got a production issue. Is that the biggest? Like, what does Spring actually do? Like,
that's a good question as well, man. So we supply fasteners and chemicals and consumables. Yeah. Now we supply them primarily to manufacturing companies and primarily in the critical industries. Yeah. So the reason we say manufacturing companies is if you take, for example, a company making the iPhone. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, they're doing it in some grubby conditions away, but if they were making that in the UK in good conditions, and we say, right, so an iPhone's made up of, say, 100 different parts. 50 of those parts will be fasteners, chemicals, or consumables. Mm-hmm. And they will be worth a fraction of any one of the other 50 parts. Right. However, if you've not got one of those parts, your production line comes to a halt, just as it does if you've not got the screen or the speaker. So our kind of model is that we give us those 50 parts, rather than you go out and buy them from 50 different companies with 50 different purchase orders on 50 different lead times, 50 different invoices, 50 different carriage and certification costs. Let us manage all of that for you, and we will design a solution that makes sure that your person that's manufacturing that on the production line, they consistently have that available. And your purchasing people can then go focus on the screen, which is worth much more than those 50 parts, the speaker. So that's why it's primarily to manufacturing companies. And now, when we say critical industries, we're talking about aerospace, defence, oil and gas, marine, rail, subsea. And the reason for that is we solve a lot of the problems that come with dealing with those industries. And just without going into too much detail, but it's like traceability, obsolescence. You imagine that, you Google an M3 socket cap screw, you can buy it for anyone in 1,000 places. You're not going to use that in an aircraft. The cap screw that holds that chair together doesn't need the same sort of material and traceability and
like you can't just start putting things for eBay on
exactly. You can't do an investigation on a screw that's come for eBay for £2.
And equally, because there's so many these parts, and a lot of them might be small, it's almost like, so these bigger companies, these manufacturing companies, they'll want to say, you deal with that bit and we'll go and haggle the price on, say, the screen if it's the phone, or we'll haggle the price on this, so that they can actually, like, their time would be wasted there probably. So you're solving that problem and keeping their production moving.
Exactly, man. You've hit the nail on the head there, because you might say, right, that company could go and buy, say those 50 fasteners or whatever I said a couple of minutes ago. So they're worth 100 grand, right? They might be able to haggle that down and get that for 92, right? And we might charge them 105 grand for it. But they will go and save 20 grand per screen that they buy. Or, do you know what I mean? They've got much bigger fish to fry over there. And like I say, we're then solving all your logistical costs, because nobody thinks about the fasteners until they've not got one. They all go, right, we've got the screens and they go to put it together, and they go, where's the glue that holds it together? And then you go on Henkel's website, for example, and it's a 32-week lead time. You go 32 weeks for a glue. And we solve that, so that's stuff that we're consistently looking at in the background. So that's our model, man.
No, that makes sense. It's quite layman terms for me being a trades guy. That was a bit right. So no.
But we speak about it, and you must need that with your tiles. As you're using them, you're burning through them. And what you don't want to happen is on Monday you've got a job that you could potentially invoice for, whatever it's going to be, whatever's good money to you. You've not got any tiles to do, and then you go to buy some tiles and it's a 20-week lead time, and you go, why have we not thought about tiles? Let us think about your tiles is essentially what we're saying.
No, that's brilliant. That sounds good. So the bit I really like about it then is how you've managed to make, and what feels to me there is quite a clunky sort of black and white, if that's the right thing. Like it just seems like an almost like an email to an email type industry. You've managed to give it like a personal feel. And I know that you've done a good job on sort of the well-being of your staff and different things, and I think we should dip into that as well. Like, how have you done that? Because, like, would I be right in saying it is very much like I'm not saying a dinosaur industry, but to me, for the outside looking in, it looks as though you'd send an email about boring fasteners to somebody and they'd say yes, no, or can you do it a wee bit cheaper, and that would be it. Like, how have you managed to, you and your team, like put something, like, just what, like, you've got something unique there, it's clear to see. So, like, maybe just a wee bit on how you've done that and how the team's consistently doing that, because you've not done it one, you've done it consistently over the last 7 years. There's been a continual growth there and progression. So a wee bit on that, please.
No, there's sort of two aspects to that, and again, a really good point and a good question. You're absolutely right. It is business to business. It's seen as email to email, and like we always say to people, particularly people starting here, and our office manager's got a great calendar thing she wants to run through it. We always say, our products aren't sexy. You know, fasteners, there's no way I can sit and say that fasteners was what I was inspired to do when I was at school, glues, chemicals and consumables. But what I love is dealing with people and solving problems for people. And so it would be remiss of me to then go ask our staff to hide behind emails and no get that fun part of dealing and solving problems. So that's what we try to bring it. We try to bring that we're, you know, a family business. Again, going back to, we're not necessarily a family behind it, you know, my granny doesn't work there, but it's a family feel within the business, it's a community. But then we try and extend that community to the suppliers, to our customers, and just really create this feel where you go, no, actually, see, rather than pick up the phone, Email Spring Solutions, I want to pick up the phone, I want to actually go see them, and we've got quite an open door policy for our customers. And it definitely works. And the other thing you sort of hinted to there was the sort of mental health stuff. And again, that goes back to like when Moman sold his company, his business partner sold, I noticed everybody's mental health plummet. And that was one of the first times I noticed within work, the difference if you've got happy people coming to their work and if you've got frustrated people coming to their work. Now, you can't be happy all the time. You know, there's tough times. As my older brother says, it works well. As you get wartime and you get peacetime. Sometimes you have to put it in. Sometimes it's a bit more stressful. But I think, like, as a business owner, we've got a few big challenges, but one of them is get the right people. So you imagine if you're talking about sales, if I get the right salesperson, I don't have to tell them that they have to make profit. I don't have to tell them that customer service is the most important thing. You know, maybe you want to remind them every now and then. But I think the biggest thing I can do to support them is remove the obstacles that come in their way and it's going to stop them selling. And if you think about that for your own point of view, like I know you're massive on personal development. The biggest blocker to you doing anything with this business is you. You'll have a skills shortage, for example, but we were just talking about it beforehand. Look at guys like Mark Glasgow that's gone out and fixing that skills shortage. Now, what he's done there is just brought his best self to the table and went, right, I've got a problem. There's a problem in this industry. It's an industry problem, but I'm going to fix it. And I know you're addressing similar issues yourself. So I thought about that a lot myself. Is the biggest barrier to sort of me not having a good day is normally me. So focus on things like breath work, meditation, exercise. But then I started to think, well, I need to be doing that for the staff as well. You know, anytime there was any problems with the staff, it was just bits of burnout, bits of stress, bits of exhaustion. And I thought, well, if I'm doing all this stuff for me and I want to create the same environment for the staff, then let's do that. So we've started rolling it out and it's incredible. You know, the example that we tend to use is if you and I are to try and just do push-ups just now, you just go, right, let's just white knuckle it and let's do push-ups. Well, you get to, I mean, I'm not judging your push-up ability here, but you'll get to 50. The last 15 will be crap. The technique will completely go. So, if I told you, you know, flip that on its head and says, right, do 10 push-ups every minute for the next 25 minutes. It's 250 push-ups, but you do it. And the difference is you're taking that time in between the 10 push-ups to say, right, start again, take a deep breath, psyching yourself up and going, I'm going to do this, I've got another 10 in me and I've got... So like, if you use that metaphor for work, like, I don't believe in working to 9 o'clock at night. It's ridiculous. We've spoken about this before, but you've only probably got 4 or 5 hours of good work in you every single day. What's the point sitting till 9 o'clock at night pretending that you're working? Or like, I think you work to live. So work as hard as you can in the hours that you've got and then go and live as quickly as you can, essentially. But so we're trying to roll out a lot of things, and I'm not sitting here having it nailed. We are absolutely a work in progress. You know, there's times last year where we were working to 9 o'clock at night. But
like you said though, or like you mentioned, your brother said, it's like sometimes you've got wartime, sometimes you've got peacetime. It's like any business has got peaks and troughs as well. It's a busy, like us just recently moving and stuff. It's like it throws your world upside down. It's like everybody is just all hands on deck because now they've got an added workload that just wasn't there. Right, our jobs were quite hard, we were already quite stretched, but now we need to move the full business to a new premises and all this, you know, and you just can't account for that anywhere. It's like, you know, you've still got to, in between all of that, try and keep your customers happy, keep your staff all happy, make sure you're making profit, make sure you're staying in business, whatever it is, and these things come. So there is going to be these wee imbalances, and I guess like you never get it perfect, but the thing I like about what you're doing with it is you're doing it. That's it. Like by starting and trying is better than oh well, there's no point in looking at that, because they're like, you see some people, like I've actually seen a couple of posts on LinkedIn recently that said, if you're an entrepreneur and you want balance, it doesn't exist. And it's like, right, fair enough, but it doesn't mean like, well, just don't try at all then. Like, try and have balance when you can have balance. If that means like 6 months of the year you got really good balance, and other 6 were a bit crazy, but you couldn't have possibly survived in there if you didn't have the balance 6, then at least you tried and you got somewhere. Does that make sense? And that's and like you're saying, it is a work in progress, but there's no work in progress if you don't start.
Exactly, man.
How has it been received in terms of like breath work and like you mentioned things there like breath work, meditation, sort of mindfulness. Like that's quite a been here and sort of West Lothian and sort of just probably the upbringings that we had, and like, do you know, it's just a wee bit like, you look like you've got a wee bit like you've got an alien on your head or something like that when you see people like just doing a wee bit of breath work. Like, how's that been received in the workplace with the team? Like, are they kind of taken to it, or?
I would say really well, like generally really well. Obviously some of the older people are a bit less receptive to it, but even then I wouldn't say they're standing huffing and puffing or telling us that we're doing something wrong. You know, they're still acknowledging that it's a good thing to do. They're just maybe saying, I didn't need that, which of course we could debate about all day long, but I would say generally pretty well. Like, we've had a friend, Dougie Scott, for Back to Balance, and you know Dougie as well, but he's been doing breathwork sessions with everybody, and I think probably about 70% attendance was consistent throughout. And you're hearing wee bits of like, probably mostly for me to be fair, but you know, you see somebody stressed and you go, have you done your box breathing, have you done, and just, it's really good to try and have that. You know, we started off with like, a couple of years back, we all done a 10k together, or most of us done a 10k, but like this year, there's still some that's kept that going. We had 2 people running the marathon at the weekend, we've got my older brother's doing a charity boxing fight, but it's that community of like, the 2 guys that ran the marathon at the weekend actually made me get my finger out this week. I was out running Monday morning, like same with yourself, obviously seeing your posts, but it's trying to get that community of going like, actually, you know, young Aaron seems like he's flying at the moment. Well, what's he doing? He's running every other day. He's training, and I'm like, oh, I need a wee bit of that. I'm going to take a wee bit of that on. So it's you're right. When you say it, people do have that opinion of that. But what was really good about using Dougie is he's obviously done a lot of the other side of it. He's been a professional fighter. He's been in the commandos and stuff. So that kind of breaks that barrier.
So he's got the balance to say,
exactly,
I've seen both camps almost. And
he can say, I've been in the middle of a professional MMA fight and I still need to meditate. And to be honest, he was probably the first person that made me step up and want to do it, because I go, well, he's not scared of doing it. So if somebody's going to slag him, then I'll just stand behind him and he'll battle them.
Exactly, I think feedback's a big thing as well. Like, in terms of like, if you look at the landscape of your life and say, you know, you've tried something new, whether it's meditation or like yoga or breathing techniques, whatever it might be, especially in the trades world, it is quite alien. It definitely is. But when you try it and then you maybe look at like where you're at and how you feel, then if it's working, it's working. Like, just, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if somebody on site says, what's that meditation shite or whatever, do you know, or like, what's that woo-woo? It's like,
that's a woo-woo in it, that's
you know,
what you get.
You've just almost got to go, like, I look at it sometimes and go, well, like, you look at, you know, successful sort of business owners that's round about, and 9 times out of 10, you can look for a wee kind of clues, you know, they always say success leaves clues, and you usually find there's something they're doing, whether it's a bit of meditation, and it's not always that they're totally promoting it, but when you, like yourself, like we've had a lot of good kind of like private conversations and where we've spoke about things like meditation and things like that. So you get speaking to other business owners and you find there's a lot of people doing it, and it's because probably that there is this sort of hustle sort of mentality of you just need to get ahead, and I think we all kind of at one point or another got caught in that.
Definitely.
And then how do you get back out of that? And I share quite openly on LinkedIn, and you know the story quite a bit, but I hit burnout massively, and I sort of looked at that and went, well, before that I had been doing like meditation, I had been doing a lot of mindfulness, and when I swapped that for I'm going to grow the business at all costs, I'm going to like plummet everything into there, then I did burn out. There was no sort of balance. The exercise was gone. So I think to be well rounded and be successful in any given sort of field for a long sustainable period of time, I think you've got to have these things in there.
Definitely.
You know, and it's probably it might not be all the time. Like at the moment, like having just ran the marathon there recently, I trained for 16 weeks before that, but I never really meditated much during that time. So, do you know, that might have made the balance almost be imbalanced to go, then there's a pressure, I need to meditate, I need to get out my run, I need to do this. Like sometimes it's just, don't give it up forever, but maybe give it up for a season sometimes and go, right, okay, like, because there's a balance here. There's a balance where it's, on one hand, you've got this hustle, work 24/7 mentality, get ahead at all costs. And on this other side, you've got, which is almost the same, but it's towards the mindfulness, which is hustle 24/7, but wake up at 5, have your breakfast at this time, do journaling, listen to an audiobook, meditate, do yoga, like, and then it's like, then start your day and you're like, what, you're telling me that's not going to give you burnout? Like,
it's just a different
do you know, it's like, to me, there's almost an element there, like, you're not learning the lesson there, that's no, and then I guess there is just, like, we could go on forever about what's right, what's wrong. I think it's each individual is, find the balance that's right for you, take the feedback, and then see where you're at. Like, most people who will try these things, they can be self-aware enough. We're definitely there. We have conversations like that with each other to say, I'm feeling a wee bit rubbish now because of X, Y, and Z. And when you get to that sort of stage of being self-aware, it's really good because then you can go, maybe I need to get back to the meditation, maybe I need to get back to this. But I think it's that feedback for me is the key. So again, like for your team, like, do they seem happy? Is it a family culture? Are you brought that back? Like, the thumbs up is yes, because you are winning awards, you are winning contracts. The team's happy, so, do you know, you're retaining your staff and things, so it's like, stick with it then. Do you know, it's just like, the success is in, like, the success does leave a clue. And it's like, how does things look? If you're maybe, do you know, if anybody's going through sort of a big turnover of staff, or the staff seem to not be really like uniting well together, then it's like, maybe you just want to try it.
Aye, exactly, man.
Do you know?
Exactly.
And it doesn't need to be the breath work. It could be, I liked your one with like doing the running together. I know good friends with John Sibbald at Sibbald Training, and they're quite big on that. They've done quite a good community drive on sort of, they're all signed up for the 10K together. And to be honest, we've never really done much of that at Taylor Roofs. Do you know, and I'm quite inspired by yourself and guys like John with doing that. So it's probably something that we take on as well.
Good. I would recommend it. I would definitely recommend it. I think they call it shared hardship, where you've kind of been through that, and you go like at the 7.5K or whatever it is. Me and young Chris done a challenge where it was an 18 mile. They've blindfolded you on a bus and dropped you 18 miles away, and you had to find your way back.
I mind seeing that.
And like the shared hardship during it, there's times where I'm struggling, he's pushing me, times where he's struggling and I'm pushing him, and like you felt like a brother after that. I'm incredibly close with young Chris anyway, but like after that, it's just that shared hardship where you just go, we've been through stuff. So like now we're a wee bit in the trenches with a big implementation at the moment, but you're looking at Chris and going, I know he can pull me through and I know I can pull him through, and it's brilliant, man. Really good.
I love that. Having done the marathon there with my brother, like we kind of went through that as well. Definitely, and it was almost just another side to life, almost like where like you just kind of see things a wee bit different. It's like, probably go into battle with you again kind of thing, do you know? And it was like, like being able to bring that into a work environment as well, I think it probably just brings down a lot of barriers as well. It kind of builds that human feel, because in many points, doing any of these endurance type challenges especially, or even if you're being vulnerable and doing breath work, because it is quite a vulnerable thing to probably do with your team.
Definitely.
You know, to go, right, we're going to do breath work or we're going to meditate. That is you showing your team like, well, you're just human as well, and you're just the same as them ultimately, and you're there with them rather than almost this kind of hierarchy kind of approach of I'm at the top, you're there. It seems like you've nailed it on quite good.
We're getting there, man. We're getting there.
And where are you going next? What's happening next?
So we just had a crazy year last year, record year. We experienced 70% growth, which was just incredible. This year we are restructuring, so we're talking about Spring Solutions 3.0, which we are making a few changes, restructuring, bringing in some more staff, really just to support the guys a wee bit better. You know, we had a structure in place that was for the size of company that we were. We grew 70%, and now it's like we need to bring the structure that's not only going to facilitate that growth, but then take us to the next level as well. So big changes going on just now, which is hugely exciting. and we've got a few new members of staff joining as well, which is pretty exciting. But we've got a mission to be the UK's #1 in our field. And that doesn't necessarily mean the biggest, but it means the best, and it means the best at what our values and what our goals are as well. So more of the same, I hope, to be honest.
Where did the strategy side of things come from with you? Was that anything to do with like, did you pick any of that up in like business when you went to like study business at college, or was like, did that just come? You're like, no, I just partied up. Like, did that just come because it's like that takes like quite a serious individual to do that. To no go right. We've just had our biggest ever year. We've grew 70%, and just go like to actually like put the brakes on almost and go, right, what's the reset look like? How do we actually make sure that this doesn't now just implode on itself? Because it was never built to be 70% on top of what it's doing. And ultimately that wouldn't be sustainable. So like, where does that strategy come from, and how do you strategize that?
Again, another really good question. I think it goes back to what we just spoke about there in terms of the feedback from the staff, from the morale generally, but also from myself. Like, in these sort of meditations or breath works, or when you're out walking or running, I'm going, right, things probably need to change. There's not everybody's coming in, not everybody's phoning in sick. It's not a brutal environment, but I'm just going, no, we've grown an awful lot. There's a change, and it's
stretched a bit.
You just get these wee feelings, and you know it yourself, where you just go, no, something's a wee bit off centre at the moment, and then you go and try and find that, and that's where we came up with the restructuring. But I don't think it was. I mean, it might be stuff you've learned. I'm always listening to books and podcasts and reading and whatever else, but it probably picking up wee bits for that. But it's generally that feedback from the team and from yourself, where you go, something's not quite right here. And then you sit back and you go, well, of course something's not right. We've grown 70% and we've brought in an extra 3 members of staff. And you go, and the guys are great because they'll continue to work. But then you start to go, he's put in overtime 2 months in a row now, and you go, we shouldn't have overtime 2 months in a row. So you go, right, go down and have that chat, and you say, so what's happening? Actually, goods in, for example, has been backlogged, or purchasing's been backlogged, and you go, oh, well, that makes a bit of sense, actually. We've grown quite a lot. So then then we take a step back and we go, right, the whole place is quite growing. And so I don't think there's any one answer. I don't remember an awful lot what I learned at business school, but it feels like it's more intuitive than that. And leaning on the team as well. The team are great for feedback.
Nah, that's brilliant. I think that's sort of, as an MD, that is it's the biggest role as such, as the strategy. And it's very easy for us to get down on the shop floor and get in with sales, get in with operations, get in with whatever department, but really to be able to sit above that and actually sort of have that helicopter view and go, that's what all of them need, and that's how we're going to take it forward. And then being able to get that from your mind into some sort of document, and then get that sort of funneled down into the team so that they've got a direction as well, because it's probably easy for a team to burn out when they don't know where they're going.
Definitely.
So it sounds like you're doing all the right things, mate.
I hope so, man. And it's not. It's all from mistakes, We've not just went out and got everything right first time. Yeah. Like we learn from a wee mistake. Thankfully, there's been nothing too catastrophic mistake-wise, but there's a wee issue, like you say. It comes with something like you see somebody putting in overtime a wee bit too much, and you go, no, that can't continue. We're all about having a work-life balance. Right, there's a problem there. So you're learning from it all the time. So I never at any stage have I sat down and thought, I've got this figured out. Yeah. Or maybe when you do for a day, you quickly realise you've not. But it's almost my job to recognise those things. And I'm finally I didn't start the company because I was great at leading people or because I wanted to be, like we talked about the sort of ego stuff, but I started it because I was pretty good at sales and thought I could do a better job than the company was doing. But as you begin to grow, you actually go, no, but it's actually my duty to ensure that these guys are supported, they've got the resources they need, are able to have the work-life balance. It would be remiss of me to be sat at the top on a 4-day week, exercising every other day and, enjoying my life, and everybody else was suffering. So
it is a privilege to take people forward and lead them to having a better life. It's essentially what you're doing. You should be proud of it, mate.
Thanks very much.
Definitely. And if anybody wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
LinkedIn's probably a good way. Jonathan Ward on LinkedIn. You can reach us all through the website as well. We've got chat on there. So that would probably cut it.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, mate. That's been brilliant.
Pleasure. Thanks very much, Jamie. Cheers for having me on.